I'll give you a couple of stories, some from my graduate student days, others when I was going through my martial arts journey, others when I was working on various startups, trying to solve some hard problems. So one example was I was finishing up my doctorate, and as a part of your doctorate, you have to do something called a prelim, where you come in and present the problem statement. So I was at a stage where all my coursework, everything was done, and I had to present my prelim. And in the same week, I also had my first degree black belt test coming up. And the same week, I had an interview, a job interview out in Silicon Valley here. So I was in Iowa. I went to graduate school in Iowa State. So now this is where training comes in, right? Because all these are very critical things. You have to pass your prelim, you have to pass your black belt test, and you go get a job. So I felt that years of training finally culminated in me getting the prelim successfully done, finishing off my black belt test, passing the black belt test the same week, and flew back from Silicon Valley with my first job offer. So this is one such example of many things coming together and turning out to be okay. And I could have said, I'll not do my black belt test and I'll pass on that, or I'll go get a job later sometimes. But I felt my training was to the point where I could easily take this challenge, and that changed everything, right? So I was on my way to get my doctorate, I finished my black belt, and I got a job offer. Awesome. Other examples are, so for example, I'd started my first company, and this is a long time ago, 93, 94 timeframe. And that company was a direct application of my doctoral dissertation, which was connecting different networks together. And as you know, it was just three of us building the core software, and it's hard programming problems to solve. And I remember working on something for 36 hours straight. I was so engrossed in it that it didn't matter to me, and I kept on going till it was all done.
Oh wow!
So I think and that helped build the product. We won competitive bake-offs, and that company was acquired by Cisco Systems, by the way. Other examples are where.
So the first example is when you got your black belt and PhD at the same time, and second example is when you sold off your first company to Cisco.
But to get to that point, there was some fair amount of innovation and hard work to be done to actually build the software, make it work flawlessly,
right.
Debug issues as they come along. And this particular stint, I still remember, I was up straight working for 36 hours.
What was the bug that you were trying to fix?
It was a really strange bug. So our software ran on different platforms, Windows, Sun operating systems, and it turns out, this is kind of esoteric, in certain architectures, you cannot, if you have a 4-byte boundary, then you cannot access things in the middle. So Sun's architecture was like that because they wanted you to bring in 4 bytes at a time. Yeah. Other architectures would let you look at things, at smaller boundaries. So when we were porting code, this was the definition of where you can access this 4-byte stream had to be defined. And in Sun's case, this particular architecture, the entire system would go out of, the whole stack would get lost. Nothing would make sense. And I remember going through assembly language in this trance-like state and just hit me. This is what has happened. So that was an example of.
So you just grinded through the problem for 36 hours until.
It's almost meditative. It's almost meditative, where the tools don't work, right? The debuggers don't work. You look at the code and say, there's nothing wrong with this code.
Yeah. And
you just have to sort of get into this, this state of mind where your intuition kicks in almost.
Yeah.
I felt that some stages, your intuitive powers do contribute.
Awesome.
And those get built over time as you concentrate on things for a long time. You get into these meditative states that help you get that clarity.
Awesome. And how many hour work weeks were you doing when you ran your first startup?
Yeah, those were intense, and I remember we were funding this ourselves. So we had me and my co-founders had a daytime job. We were consulting during the day.
Yeah.
And then we were writing code at night. So this was intense. I mean, you're starting 6 in the morning, right, and going all the way till 1 to 2 a.m. in the morning, doing your day work, and then working on our startup.
Yeah.
So this we did this for almost a year and a half till the product was ready, and we were shipping. So
okay, so 6 in the morning till 1 or 2 a.m. Oftentimes.
Pretty much every day.
Okay. Wow.
But it was great because we jump started it without any funding. Self started the company.
Awesome. And when it first got acquired, was that the feeling of like true validation or confidence that you knew you could take something, have hard work, and then be successful at it?
Yeah. So what happens is, so there's a strategy behind all of this, right? And so you can ask me, hey, how come you've done 4 startups? The 5th one. What's the method behind the madness? Can anybody do this? And I say, yes, everybody can do this, provided you understand the model. So the fundamental model is that as trends change, they have an impact on the marketplace. So now your knowledge of the marketplace and the vision of how the trends are evolving give you the understanding saying that there is an impact to the marketplace that I can take advantage of. And now you have to act. You have to build something, you have to go then position it and see if it's a profitable position. So this cycle is the classical, if you study Art of War, if you study the classical text on strategy, this is the cycle that is prescribed. Mm-hmm. So once you understand this, then the dangers come. The dangers come because your knowledge of the marketplace is incomplete. Your vision could be flawed, and whatever actions you take could be deficient. You're not building the right thing. It's not working. And then when you try to position it in the market rejects it. So it's not a profitable outcome. So all of these things can possibly go wrong, and strategy dictates that they will go wrong, and you have to just iterate to make it perfect. And what is interesting in my mind is if I can engage on this process of continuous improvement and take it to a point where a profitable outcome occurs, then I feel validated that concept of strategy worked.
Yeah. So you've been able to apply a lot of the teaching from the Art of War into the startup life.
Absolutely. It's 100% based on that. Every startup that I've done has its roots in that thinking, saying, what is changing today? What is a big trend that is going to impact a market?
Yeah.
So for example, ShieldX is all about cloud security. And the concept is simple. As enterprises adopt multi-cloud architectures, then the way they've thought about security has to change. And the traditional systems that were used to provide security don't fit well into this model. So that's the knowledge and the vision that I started with, and then we started to build a company and executed on this, placed in the market, got early wins, and then we are on the cycle to continuously improve this.